All right, welcome class. Sorry for the couple minutes that I'm late. Just trying to get things ready, and then I was also my wife and I were trying to cut my hair, so it just took a lot longer, and still have some work to do. But it's good to be with you all. Today we are in chapter 6 of our Dynasties of China, and so we're going to start going through that. There will be 7 questions that I will ask for you guys. So remember the chat commands. I'll pull those up right now. Right here. Remember the chat commands all the way up from, we have question 1 all the way up to question 7 today. All right, so make sure that you're paying attention so you can answer those questions. And then we'll also have the big question that we'll discuss today. So we got a lot of good stuff to be covering. Sorry, I didn't mean to pull that up. So let's review really quick before we jump in to chapter 6. Let's review chapter 5 and what we learned. Can anybody tell me what they learned in chapter 5? What do we remember? There was something about a food prophecy. What was that prophecy that we learned? It was the pancake prophecy, right? And who was that about? Wei Zung. Remember the pancake prophecy? Remember that Wei was really into, Emperor Wei Zung was really into art, and that he spent his time painting and having artists paint for him instead of focusing on governing China. And so China ended up getting overtaken by the Jurchen. The Jurchen was a tribe that helped China, helped Wei Zung, and then they turned their backs on Wei and actually ended up overtaking Emperor Wei and capturing him and making him a prisoner. And so that's what we talked about last time. So let's jump into chapter 6. And remember, let's stay focused. Right now is class time, right? We are at home, we're on the internet, but it is time to learn. So let's stay focused and pay attention. Let's answer the questions. If you have questions, you can put them in the chat. If something doesn't make sense, you can let me know. This is a class session, so let's communicate with one another, and the way we communicate is through the chat box since we're online. So let's first bring up our primary focuses for today in this lesson. That's right, the pancake prophecy. Good job, Chloe. So primary focuses for chapter 6 are, we will learn to be able to contrast the differences, contrasting, what is alike and what is different between city life and rural life. I say rural, you could say rural life in China in the 1100s. So city life, it would be like those that are here in like downtown Gallup would be kind of like city life, and then those that are kind of like maybe around a lot of land is more of the rural life. So we will be able to describe the urban qualities of Hangzhou. We'll be able to explain the importance of education in China during the Sung Dynasty. And we know that education is very important. That is why we go to Hangzhou, right? Hangzhou Academy provides, from what I've learned and what I'm experiencing, the best education around here in Gallup. So you guys are, learning the importance of education. And then we'll also understand the meaning of our key vocabulary words, all right? It looks like Caden is already asking about the hints. So we haven't even gotten to question 1, but he's already trying to be prepared, which is awesome. I love it. You can in the chat, you can put the questions up ahead so it can prime your mind to know what to look for, right? So right now, as we start to read, if you want to know what to be looking for, you could put question 1 and be on the lookout for that. So let's first call attention to the big question, and the big question is on the screen, and you can also type the big question in chat if you'd like. Let's read this together, so make sure you're following along. What was the difference between life in the countryside and the life in the city in southern China during the Sung Dynasty? All right, so that's our big question. So let's focus on that. What's the difference between city life and then living in the country? That's for your big question. So pay attention to what the differences are between those two different lifestyles. Remember that if you want to, for extra points, you can take one of the core vocabulary words that we'll cover in this chapter and type a sentence and share that sentence with the class in the chat. Nice. Looks like Chloe's already looking for the core vocabulary that we're going to cover for this chapter. That is awesome. Good job, Chloe. All right, so let's start. Chapter 6. Actually, before I start really quick, I just want to reiterate. I want to remind you of what I said in today's announcement for our class. We only have 2 more weeks of class left, guys, for this first quarter. 2 more weeks to get caught up. And the core virtue for this week is perseverance. And perseverance, again, is the determination, the discipline to be committed to getting something done no matter how difficult it is. And I know that being at home is sometimes difficult, that there's noises, there's distractions, we can't interact with one another. Sometimes it's harder to understand the lesson. Please reach out to me if things are not making sense. But I know that you guys can persevere and make the end of this quarter way better than the beginning of this quarter. I know the beginning of the school year was crazy, trying to figure out this online stuff, this new platform. But I know you guys will be successful if you persevere and put forth the effort. So I just wanted to do that since this is our first class lesson for this week. That's our core virtue for this week, and let's finish this first quarter out strong, all right? I know you guys can do great. You guys are all awesome. All right, now let's jump into chapter 6, all right? Let's follow along, starting right here. The rice growing south, the southern part of China, controlled by the Sung Dynasty, was very different from the northern part, controlled by the Jurchen. And remember, the Jurchen is who overtook Wei Zung in the last chapter. They are from the north. The south was hotter, wetter, and more humid. It was a perfect place for growing rice, which grows best in standing water. All right, let's look at this picture right here on page 43. It's a depiction of southern China had the perfect climate for growing rice. Remember, they had standing water. It was more humid. The moisture in the air here in Gallup, it is dry, but in southern China, it was humid and it was perfect for growing rice. That's a cool picture. And remember last time we also talked about the rolling scrolls, the artists that would have these scrolls that would unravel or unroll and it would be taken on an adventure. You can imagine what that would have been like if you look at this picture, seeing the sky and the mountains and then these trees and this hut and then finally the people working in the fields. That would have been cool to see. So peasants did all of the work of planting and harvesting the rice. At dawn, a drum sounded to call the workers to the field. Time to work. They did not have fancy equipment. Simple plows and hoes were all that they used. The plows were pulled by the men themselves, or if the men were lucky enough to have them, by water buffalo. So then sometimes they had animal water buffalo to help pull the plows. The peasants labored hard in the fields, especially from June to September. Rice became the most important part of the Chinese diet during the Sung Dynasty. The residents in the capital city of Hangzhou, a city numbering over 1 million people, ate about 220 tons of rice every single day. All right, here's our first vocabulary word. And I know Chloe brought up the vocabulary words in the chat. So our first word is a ton. Do you guys know what a ton is? If you know, you can put it in the chat before I read it. A ton is a unit of weight equal to 2,000 pounds. And let's think about how heavy that is. Well, I think, so we know 2,000 pounds. Let's kind of put a reference to that. Your average little sedan car, your little car with 4 doors, not a truck, not a van, not an SUV, but just an average sized sedan car is about 2,000 pounds. So the 1 million people in China, in southern China, ate about 220 tons of rice every single day. Now that is a lot of rice. Um, for you math geniuses, can you figure out how many pounds of rice that is? 220 times, I guess you'd put it the other way, right? So a ton is 2,000. So 2,000 pounds by 220 tons, right? So what does that equal? And then those are even want some extra. So if there's 1 million people, how many tons did each person eat? How much rice did each person eat? That's a little question for you math people. All right. That is a lot of rice. That is right. So in Hangzhou, you could buy many different kinds of rice. Some of the varieties included white rice, rice with lotus pink grains, yellow-eared rice, rice on the stalk, pink rice, yellow rice, and old rice. All these different kinds of rice had to be grown and harvested. It's no wonder the poor peasants had to work so hard. All right, we're going to finish reading pages 44 through 46, and then we'll have 3 questions for you. So the first 3 questions will be pulled from this page that we just read, 44 all the way through 46. All right, so if you want to get a heads up, you can type in the chat commands for the first 3 questions. All right, so city pleasures. Let's follow along and read right here. Many peasants left their fields and villages and moved into the city. The city amazed them. Peasant life was difficult and offered few pleasures. Hangzhou, by contrast, so the city throbbed with constant activity. Entertainers performed on the street corners in areas of the city called pleasure grounds that were set aside near the markets and bridges. Here, performers of all sorts captivated audiences. So in the fields, they're working hard. In the city, there are a lot of performers, entertainers. So let's look at these depictions of what goes on in this city. This first picture, let's read the caption. Puppet shows were one form of entertainment available in the city of Hangzhou. And the second picture is, let's read the caption. In the image, you can see a lively street life in Sung City. All right. So in the fields, it's boring and tedious, hard labor. In the city, it's fun, entertainment, lively, enjoyable, a lot going on. Let's keep the chat focused. That's awesome, Kaden. I like rice and beans, but again, remember, let's focus on the thing, right? Let's focus not on the thing. Let's focus on the lesson. I guess, I mean, I like that you're sharing, Kaden, but that comment can just get other people distracted and thinking about and wanting to share what they eat every day. So that's why I want everything that's put on in the chat just to be focused on the lesson. All right. So I'm not mad at you. I think it's awesome that you share what you eat. I just don't want that to be distracting to other people. So that's why I'm just trying to keep all comments that I'm making and that we're making in the chat focused on the lesson. Okay. So again, going back to the city, let's keep reading what goes on in the city. You could stop to watch puppet shows and shadow plays, listen to music and storytellers, delight in jugglers, acrobats, tightrope walkers, and animal acts, and gasp as strongmen lifted huge blocks of stone to the sound of a drum roll. Yeah, I'm glad you're following along, Scotland. That's awesome. And again, Kaden, that was really awesome that you shared. It just could have been really easy for people to be distracted, right? That's it. At the end of this lesson, we can have time for us to talk and interact just more as casual, right? So let's just focus on the lesson, all right? And again, I'm going to ask 3 questions from these 2 pages that we just read, right? So 3 questions. Questions 1 through 3 are all going to be pulled from here. And so let's put in the chat either the chat commands that get you ready to answer the questions, or I want you to answer the questions in the chat. So those are things that you can type. And we have a lot of core vocabulary words that we're also going to be covering. And remember, it'd be awesome for you guys to use the vocabulary word in a sentence. So pick a vocabulary word and type a sentence. Create a sentence using a vocabulary word. All right, these last few paragraphs that we'll read for chapter 46. And then again, I'll be asking you 3 questions. So be ready to answer those 3 questions. All right, city streets. In the marketplaces and fancy shops, you could buy anything you wanted. Pet cats, crickets in cages, even false hair. All of Hangzhou echoed with the noise of street vendors. All right, our next vocabulary word. What's a vendor? A vendor is a person who sells something, usually on the street. A peddler. Remember last chapter we talked about the peddler he's the one that created the pancake prophecy for Wei Zung. Maybe you've have seen food trucks, or I'd say, yeah, food trucks is a common thing right now as a type of vendor. So they beat on pieces of wood or metal or cried out to attract customers. Their wares included tea, toys, food, and horoscopes, honeycombs, and sugarcane. There are our next 2 vocabulary words. What is wares? What are wares? Who, what, or when, or wares? And then what is horoscopes? So wares is goods for sale. So tea is a ware, toy, food. Those are all different kinds of goods that could be for sale. Nice. There's Caden. I can carry a ton of water every 3 months using the vocabulary word. That's awesome. And then Chloe typed one, but then went away. There we go. I like that. That's what we can type in chat. That's perfect. Perfect example of what we can type in chat. Keeping it focused on the lesson, sharing what you're learning. I love it. That is really good. Good job, Caden. All right, and the last vocabulary word that we just read is a horoscope. A horoscope is a prediction about a person's future, usually based on when a person was born and such things as the alignment of stars and planets. So we learned about prophecy last time in chapter 5 with the pancake prophecy. Someone was saying that Wei Zung was going to fall and he'd be happy to eat a pancake later in his life because he was going to fall from power. Well, horoscope is kind of like a prophecy, but it's based upon things about you, meaning like where you were born, when you were born, stuff like that. Maybe you've seen the Chinese, the Chinese horoscopes when they're based on the years, like the year of the dog or the year of the horse, and it's kind of giving you like personality traits or things that you might accomplish, stuff like that. Those are horoscopes. All right, let's continue to read. Some vendors sold mosquito smoke, a powder for getting rid of the mosquitoes that love the humid air of Hangzhou. So I bet those workers would love mosquito smoke as they are working out, in the humidity, working in the fields. All right, and our last vocabulary word is porters. A porter is a person hired to carry or transport goods. Sorry, not the last vocabulary word of the lesson, but the last vocabulary word on this page. So a person hired to carry or transport goods. So going along with what Caden said in the chat, that he would carry a ton of water, would you say every 3 months? So we could say Caden was a porter who carried a ton of water, maybe from the fields to the city or something like that. That could be using 2 vocabulary words. So porters rushed through the streets carrying goods that hung from long poles balanced on their I always struggle saying that word, on their shoulders. Enclosed chairs were also suspended from poles, and wealthy women dressed elegantly in silks and gold brocade rode inside them. People in Hangzhou loved to eat and drink. Tea houses, bars, and restaurants crowded the streets, and pleasure boats serving food floated on a lake in Hangzhou. So a lot going on in the city and in the streets. So let's recap and point out some of the things that we learned by asking 3 questions. So your 3 questions are, what was daily life like for peasants in China? That's question 1. Question 2 is, how much rice was consumed each day in the city of Hangzhou? Remember, there was a lot of rice. And the third question that I want you guys to answer is, what types of amusements and entertainments were people living in this city able to enjoy? All right, so questions 1 through 3. Again, use the chat commands to remind yourself what the question is. And then you can also use the chat commands to get hints for the first 3 questions. So I'll give you a minute to try to answer those questions. All right, so those that are paying attention, about a minute or 2 will be all the time that you need to answer at least one of those questions. Those that aren't following along, it might take a little bit longer, and that's okay. Just reread the thing, but I will start moving on with the lesson in a couple minutes. So yeah, Caden looks like he's getting for hint 2. Yep, so hint 2, how much rice was consumed each day in the city of Hangzhou? How many tons of rice? Specific number. China? Yeah, we are talking about China, Scotland, that's right. But yeah, how much rice was consumed each day in the city of Hangzhou, China? Yep, you're right. So if that's what you're asking. So you put, is that 200,000 tons of rice? No, not 200,000, but more than 3. So 4 tons, a lot more than 4. It's 3 digits. 3 digits. 220 tons of rice. All right, that's how much rice they ate in Hangzhou. 220 tons of rice. So that was question 2. Question 1 was, what was the daily life like for peasants in China? Remember, they were working out in the fields. Peasants were in the humidity, working in the rice fields, harvesting all the different kinds of rice. Yeah, a lot of tons. That is a lot. So the peasants spent most days in the fields, planting and harvesting rice. Life was not easy. It was very difficult. All right. Now, question 3 was, what types of amusements and entertainments were people living in this city able to enjoy? 220 tons, Scotland. 220 tons of rice. So question 3, people were able to watch all the entertainers, right? The musicians, the tightrope walkers, the animal acts, all these different kinds of entertainment that they were able to enjoy. And then they were also able to go throughout the city and see all the different vendors that they were able to buy food and different, what did we learn? Different wares from, different types of goods. Okay, but that was good, guys. A lot better today than last time. You guys are staying on track, and I love it. You guys are trying to answer the questions, and that is amazing. I love it. Okay, so we're going to read page 47 through 49, and there will be 3 more questions. All right. Question 4, again, is kind of along the lines of the big question. Question 4 is, what were some of the differences between life in the city of Hangzhou and the life in the countryside during the Song Dynasty? All right. So very similar to the big question. That's question 4. We're going to do so. Keep focusing on that. That's what we're trying to focus on for the big question. Pages 47 through 49, which we're about to read, will have 3 more questions. Questions 5, question 6, and question 7. All right. Maybe you like it this way: 5, 6, 7. So if you want to get your mind ready to know how to answer those questions, you can put in the chat exclamation point question 5, so on and so forth, all the way to exclamation point question 7 to get your mind ready to answer those questions. Okay? So let's read pages 47 through 49. We're going to start right here, the city on the water. So let's follow along. Water was everywhere in Hangzhou. The city lay between a large artificial lake in the west and a river in the east. 20 or more canals crisscrossed the city. Northern China was very dry, and the people who lived there rarely took baths. Ugh. But southern China could not have been more different. The inhabitants of Hangzhou loved to bathe. Government officials got a day off every 10 days just so they could take a bath. As a result, the Chinese word for bath also meant a 10-day period of time. Interesting. The rich had their own rooms for bathing, but ordinary people flocked to public bathhouses. There may have been as many as 3,000 of them in the city. Though the Chinese did not have toothbrushes at the time, they did wipe their gums with a handkerchief after eating. That's interesting, right? We usually think of handkerchiefs as just wiping off our face and make sure we don't have any stuff on our face, but they used handkerchiefs to wipe off their gums inside their mouth. And they were the first people in the world to use toilet paper. China, they're inventing paper money. Now they're also inventing toilet paper. Or at least they were the first ones to use toilet paper. All right, our next section, the scholars. Amid the crowd strolling on the bustling streets of Hangzhou, bustling meaning busy, a lot of stuff going on, were men wearing special caps with long ears. Only scholars had the right to wear these caps, and the only way to become a scholar was to pass a very difficult series of exams given by the government. So the only way to become a scholar was to pass a difficult series of exams. So right now we are becoming scholars. You are becoming scholars as you are going through school and taking difficult series of exams in your different subjects. You are becoming a scholar. The exams tested students' knowledge of the teachings of Confucius as well as other subjects. There were even a poetry exam. Generally, no more than 400 or 500 students out of 400,000 would pass these exams, called Jinshi. So let's learn about Confucius. Do you guys know who Confucius was? Confucius was a philosopher, but let's read this caption. So here's a depiction of Confucius, these scholars with the long ears. Confucius was a teacher and a philosopher. He believed in the power of education and promoted what were called the 6 arts. The 6 arts are archery, calligraphy, mathematics, music, and chariot driving, and ritual. And ritual is a vocabulary word. An act or series of actions done in the same way in a certain situation such as a religious ceremony. So maybe you guys have been a part of rituals either through religious things, or maybe you have, some people talk about morning rituals. How do you get ready for the day? Do you wake up? Do you take a shower? Do you eat your breakfast? Do you get dressed, get ready for school? Those are kind of rituals, things that acts or series of actions done in the same way or a certain way. All right, so the last little part of this was, however, Confucius believed how a person behaved was the most important thing of all, right? And that is definitely true to Hangzhou, right? We're learning about these core virtues, and these core virtues help us become a certain type of people that behave well, no matter if people are around or if we're by ourselves. People that persevere, that have courage, discipline. Those things are how we behave in all different situations. So the scholars were the most honored and respected people in China. They formed an elite group and had many privileges. All right, elite is our next core vocabulary word. Maybe some of you guys do sports or other extracurricular activities, and maybe you're in an elite group, playing lacrosse and football. Growing up, I was able to join some elite clubs to, progress and stuff like that. So these scholars were an elite group. An elite group is having more talent, wealth, power, or privilege than anyone else. All right, let's continue to follow along. We're going to read the rest of page 48 and then page 49, and that's the last few sections of this chapter. So let's stay focused, let's finish strong, and again, remember, we're asking 3 more questions for you guys to answer. So you can put in the chat, ! question 5 all the way up to question 7 to get ready to answer those questions. So let's follow along and finish these last few paragraphs. Over the years, more and more young men wanted to become scholars, and the demand for education increased. The Sung emperors opened many new schools. However, most children, whether they lived in the countryside or in the city, did not go to school. Only the children of elite families were educated. And thank goodness that's changed, right? It is so important. We're learning the value of education, and education is becoming available to all. And Hangzhou has people from different backgrounds, right? There's some people that live in the city, some people that live not in the city on the reservation, people coming from educated families, people coming from not educated families, but people that want education. Me as your teacher, you as a student, we want education and we want to become educated, and that's why we go to Hangzhou Academy. Whether we are coming from an elite family or not, we are trying to become elite versions of ourselves. We're trying to better ourselves through education and while attending Hangzhou Academy. So you guys, those that are, in my class right now, in my class, we're becoming more elite versions of ourselves right now, which is awesome. It's kind of cool to think about. All right, last 2 paragraphs. Ready? The flammable city. Flammable. It's funny. Sometimes you pronounce this word differently, right? Is it flammable? Flammable. The flammable city. Hangzhou was a crowded city. Its houses, made of wood and bamboo, rose up to 5 stories high. They were built one right next to the other. Lamps and lanterns with live fire flames provided light. But if one was dropped, it could mean disaster. From time to time, fire swept through huge sections of the city. One time, a fire raged for 4 days and nights, destroying more than 58,000 houses. 58,000 houses and killing many people. Whew, that would not be fun. Despite the threat of fire, people of Hangzhou thought they were safe behind their walls. But far to the north, beyond the land of the Jurchen, fresh trouble was brewing. For 20 years, a nomadic leader from the Mongolian steppe had been fighting with the other northern tribes to unite them, all under his rule. By the year of 1206, this powerful and ruthless warrior had succeeded. He was feared by all and was given the title Genghis Khan, which meant universal ruler. You may have seen his name also spelled Genghis Khan, but he now looked south to China and saw a country that in one part, the north, was under the control of the Jurchen, and the other part, the south, was under the Sung. He decided to pounce on China. Genghis Khan. Nice. All right, so we got question 5 going to be popping up soon. Looks like Chloe was talking about her soccer team being an elite group, I'm guessing. Nice. All right, so our last three questions before we close is how was the geography of northern China different from that of southern China? So we read about that actually at the beginning of this chapter. So you might have to recall that. How was the northern part of China different than the southern part? Okay, question 6 was, or is, who were the scholars and how were they viewed by other Chinese people? And our last question is, why was the risk of fire so high in Hangzhou? And we barely just read about that. So I'll give you guys a couple minutes to try to answer questions 5 through 6. The chat box, the Nightbot has brought up question 5 in the chat for you. Again, how was the geography of northern China different from that of southern China? Question 6 is, who were the scholars and how were they viewed by other Chinese people? And question 7 is, why was the risk of fire so high in Hangzhou? So a couple minutes to try to answer these questions 5 through 7, sorry, and then we'll end. I mean, give you guys a couple minutes to chat with one another if you'd like. There's hint number 5. Northern China was blank, but southern China had a great deal of what? What was going on in southern China? We knew there were a lot of rice fields. And what made that part so good for cultivating and harvesting rice? What was in the air? Has to deal with moisture. Anybody? So northern China was very dry, but southern China had a great deal of water, right? That's where they harvested the rice. It was very humid in the air. So that's question 5. Nice, Chloe, that's perfect. Yep, for question 7, I think that's what you're referencing. But why was the risk of fire so high in Hangzhou? That is correct, because the houses were tall and close, and they were also made out of what? What question do you want me to repeat, Scotland? Remember, you can put the question chat command in the chat also, but I can read the question. You just let me know what question. Question 5, question 6, question 7. You're just about to say what I said? Nice, yep. Wood, yep, wood and bamboo. Stuff that was very easy to catch on flames. And they had lamps and lanterns and they cooked with fire. So one mistake inside the house and things could go a-blazing. All right, so we've answered question 5 and question 7. Let's answer question 6 really quick. And question 6 is, who were the scholars and how were they viewed by the other Chinese people? Scholars. Remember, we talked about scholars. We talked about Hangzhou Academy. We talked about ourselves becoming scholars. So who and what were the scholars and how were they viewed? I can pull this up a little bit. So the scholars were the most honored people in China. Remember, they were the elite, just like we are becoming elite through education. The scholars were those that were educated, and they had to pass a series of difficult exams, right, to become a scholar. Only about 400 became scholars out of I think it was like 400,000. Let me double check that. All right. Yep. So only 400 or 500 students out of 400,000 would pass these exams. That's like, we have about 400 people in Hangzhou right now. That's like 4 of you guys be able to graduate Hangzhou. That's how hard these exams were. All right, guys. That is it. Good job today. Let's just call attention to our big question again. And remember, you can type the big question in the chat, and I will pull it up here on the screen as well. The big question. What was the difference between life in the countryside and life in the city in southern China during the Sung Dynasty? All right, that's our big question. So that is a discussion post that you have to go in and answer. It should be live right now. But that is our lesson, all right? So thanks for joining. It was awesome having you here. I will allow a few minutes right now for you guys to chat with me, to ask questions, or to chat amongst each other. So, yeah, let's chat a little bit, right? Can bring this up over here so you guys can see the chat box on the screen, right? So Kate is trying to get people to subscribe to my channel, right? That's, yeah, you can get notified when the stream goes live. Looks like Chloe just said subscribe. Nice. Caden subscribed. Yeah, it looks like Adriana's on too. Glad to have you here. Scotland's here. Good job, Scotland. I'm so glad you followed along. It was awesome. Today was a good day. It was a lot better today than it was last lesson in our Dynasties book. We had a lot of I guess the chat wasn't too distracting, but it just didn't seem like you guys were really trying to answer the questions. And so today you guys were really trying to answer the questions, which was amazing. You guys did awesome today. I'm really proud of you guys. Keep it up. Definitely finish this. Continue this effort today for the rest of today and the rest of this week and next week. Get caught up. Stay focused. It will benefit you, right? Looks like Joshua's here. Awesome. Did Josh? Thanks, Adriana. It's not finished yet, and I kind of screwed up. So my wife was helping me out, and then I was trying to like hurry up, and so I tried to like do some stuff really quick, and it's a little screwed up, so we have to fix it. But thank you, I appreciate it. It is, so it looks like Chloe's talking about how her birthday is next month, October 11th. Well, guys, guess what? Today's my birthday, all right? And so I'm so glad to be spending time with you guys today. It is a huge birthday present. I love being able to be with you guys today for my birthday. I'm really happy. Did Josh subscribe as well? What's Roblox? I don't know what Roblox is. Just a couple more minutes and then we're gonna end the stream. But if you guys have questions, is it me that's retracting your guys' messages, or are you guys deleting them? I don't know. Again, I gotta figure out a little bit more of the Nightbot. I don't know. So yeah, I don't know why. So, okay, so Scotland said happy birthday. Thanks, Scotland. Really appreciate it. Your message might have been deleted because of so many exclamation points. I just gotta, I didn't, like, the thing is, I don't want people spamming a whole bunch of symbols or like emojis. So that's why I got deleted. So maybe just a few less exclamation points, even though you're probably really excited and I appreciate it. Happy birthday. Thanks, Adriana. Thanks, Chloe. Appreciate it. Looks like Adriana's dabbing. Yeah, Nightbot. So Nightbot's retracting your guys' stuff? Okay. So I don't know why some of those got deleted. Let me sorry. I gotta, again, I'm learning this just as much as you, and so that's why I can't get frustrated at you guys for not always answering questions or doing things right, because I'm still learning too. So Roblox is an online game. Right on, cool. Joshua's dabbing in the chat. Okay. Well, this was a good lesson, guys. It was awesome to be with you all. Roblox is fun. I'll have to check it out in my free time. I got work to do, and then once I get my work stuff done and I'm caught up, or if I'm ahead, then I play games, right? So it's my birthday. I'll probably play some games with my brother, play some Warzone, but I need to get caught up, right? I need to make sure that you guys have the stuff that you need to finish this week out, right? And then I need to answer questions, talk to parents. So I got to get my work done, and then we can play, right? So work hard, play hard. I've checked out a little bit of Among Us. Don't know it too well. Have you guys ever played Werewolf or Mafia or something? It looks like it's a game version of that, which is kind of cool. But that's going to be it for today. Thanks so much for coming in. Thanks for saying happy birthday. But most importantly, thanks so much for being interactive today and really trying to answer the questions and to learn the stuff. It was awesome having you do that. Again, get caught up with all of your stuff, guys. Only 2 more weeks of this first quarter, and then things are going to get a little bit more strict. Isn't the more structured, right? We'll have a more structured year moving on after this, right? We want you guys to stay on top. Don't let things get behind just because you're at home. Set a time, create a ritual, right? Ritual is one of our vocabulary words today. Create a ritual to get yourself ready to go to school every day, even though you're at home. Create a place that you can go to school, study, learn, stay on top of your work, and have a great, great learning session. So I do have a gaming channel. I don't play Grand Theft Auto. I mostly just play Warzone with my brothers when I have free time. But that's going to be it today, guys. Thanks for coming in. Make sure you get your stuff done and reach out to me if you have any questions, okay? All right? You guys are the best. Have a great rest of the day. Take care.